everyone, welcome back to Actual English. I'm Jennifer Clyde. It's time for lesson 211, and today's topic is public buses. Now, the cheapest way to use public transport is by using a T-card. It's basically an integrated fare system which is transferable from bus to bus or subway to bus or even vice versa. Now, these T-cards can be either prepaid or postpaid, of course with a credit card, and they're so convenient because they're small in size. They're small enough to fit in your wallet or even your purse. And I think they even come in different shapes, so you can even hang it on your keychain perhaps. It's very convenient to carry around with you. Now in Seoul, there are many buses, several buses. They are colored differently. There's the blue buses, green buses, red buses, and yellow buses. So if you take the buses frequently, you probably know how different these buses are according to the different colors. Now, many roads in Seoul have a designated bus lane, so if you're driving, you ought to be careful not to drive in those bus-only lanes. Okay, we'll talk much more about public buses today, so let's begin with Actual Talk.
So Mary, there's loads of different types of buses in Korea.
Right.
I've noticed we have the small village buses, and we have buses within the city of different colours, I think.
Yeah, the big blue and green ones.
Yeah, in Seoul anyway.
Yeah.
And then we have express buses going city to city. It seems really well organised and efficient here.
Yeah, and then there's also the airport buses that you can take. Limousine buses, I think.
Do you ever take them?
I used to take them, but now I've switched since the AREX line opened up. Now I take that from Seoul Station.
The train line?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
So it's quite fast and you don't have to worry about traffic.
Yeah.
A little smoother.
Right. Well, it's a bit bumpy, isn't it, in the buses here?
Yeah, the airport buses aren't so bad, but the inner city buses, those can get pretty bumpy.
So how does this compare to back home? I mean, you have buses in the States, don't you? Obviously.
Yeah, it depends on where you're from in America. Where I'm from, there are buses, but not many people use them, and there's no other form of public transportation. It seems like you really need a car to survive.
Yeah.
I'm from Michigan.
We're talking about America here, aren't we?
Well, it depends on where you're from.
Okay.
Yeah, how about you?
Well, yeah, it's sort of similar to Korea.
Okay.
It's everything that Korea is, but worse. So it's fairly efficient in London anyway, and everybody uses the buses. However, it's dirty, sort of very polluting engines with the diesel, and expensive.
Right, Korea's doing some more eco-friendly.
Yeah, I mean, they all use gas, I think, now, don't they, in Korea, which is fantastic. And I also heard in Namsan they're using battery-powered buses.
Oh, I heard that too.
How about we go there?
Yeah, next weekend.
I'm down for that.
Okay, let's go.
Today, Mary and Eugene are talking about public buses, whether they use public transport such as buses or subways, and so on and so forth. So let's find out what they have mentioned in today's Actual Talk conversation. Here we go. First of all, Eugene says, Mary, there's loads of different types of buses in Korea. If you say there are loads of, loads of something, you are saying that there is a large number of something. There are many different types of buses in Korea. So once again, there's loads of different types of buses in Korea. And then he says, I've noticed we have the small village buses. Perhaps he's talking about the shuttle buses, right? And we have buses within the city of different colors, I think. So buses within the city. Buses that travel around the city, perhaps in the city. So perhaps we're talking about city buses, Seoul city buses, and they are of different colors. I did mention that there are different colored buses, so maybe they'll talk about that. Okay, moving on. Mary says, yeah, the big blue and green ones. Of course, we're talking about the buses. There are a few more, but she has mentioned the blue and green buses. Now, Eugene says, yeah, in Seoul anyway. Of course, in Seoul, there are buses in blue and green. And then we have express buses. So this time he's talking about expresses, going city to city. Okay? You can say go from A to B, or from is omitted in this case, so you can say that these buses go city to city, or go from city to city. It means that it leaves one city and arrives at another or a different city. It seems really well organized and efficient here. Okay? If you say that something is efficient, simply put, you're saying that it is easy to use or convenient. Okay? Perhaps it can also mean that it's economical. So he's saying that the buses in Seoul, the regular ones or even the express buses, are very efficient and well organized. Now Mary says, yeah, and then there's also the airport buses that you can take. They're also called limousine buses. Okay? Limousine buses normally take you from all these different bus stops or destinations to the airport. And they're called, what? Airport buses or limousine buses. And then Eugene says, do you ever take them? Them, of course, we're talking about buses. Do you ever take them? She says, I used to take them, but now I've switched since the RX line opened up. So let's take a look at switch here. Of course, the most common types of switches we see are perhaps power switches. If you enter a room, you can turn on the lights by switching the switch on or off to turn off the lights. But here, switch means to change. So she's saying she used to take these buses, but now she has changed, okay, since the RX line opened up. She's switched to the RX line from the normal buses. RX line, okay, she's perhaps talking about the Airport Railroad Express. I believe there are two lines. The non-stop express bus that goes to Incheon International Airport to Seoul Station, and there's also a commuter that services 10 subway stations. So there are two lines to the RX line. Now, if you say that something opens up, you are saying that it is open to the public, for example, to be used. Start to use something. For example, as a building, a restaurant, these places or locations can open up, which means they're open to the public. People can start to use them. So she's saying that the RX line has opened up, meaning it's available to the public. Okay. What is the idea? Once again, she used to take these different buses, perhaps the express bus, the blue buses, the green buses, but now, since the RX line opened up, she takes that, okay? She has switched to the RX line. Now I take that from Seoul Station. It's quite fast, and you don't have to worry about traffic. A little smoother, she says. So the point is that the RX line, it's fast, and you do not have to worry about traffic. Okay? And she's saying that the RX line, perhaps it is a little smoother. Okay? Now, if you're not sure what smooth means in this case, Eugene backs it up by saying, it's a bit bumpy, isn't it, on the buses here. So he's saying that the buses in Korea, or perhaps in Seoul, can be bumpy. If you say that something is bumpy, what are you saying? There are a lot of bumps, okay? There are jolts, for example. Imagine yourself on a bus and you're traveling somewhere in the countryside, okay? And there are many rocks on the road. The bus will jolt, okay? It'll jolt forward and backward and bump up and down. Often we say that the road is bumpy, meaning that it is not even. The surface of the ground is not even, or if it's uneven, we can say that the road is bumpy. Buses can be bumpy as well. So we're talking about the bus rides that are bumpy. Okay, it's not smooth, but rather it's bumpy. It makes you jump up and down from your seat. Okay, moving on. She says, yeah, the airport buses aren't so bad. So she's making a comparison. Airport buses are not so bad. They aren't as bumpy. but the inner city buses, perhaps the buses that travel within the city, those can get pretty bumpy. Now, Eugene says, so how does this compare to back home? Back home, we're talking about perhaps Mary's home country or hometown. And then he asks, you have buses in the States, don't you? Well, Mary is from the U.S. and she answers, yeah, we do have buses, but it depends on where you are from in America. And then she says, where I'm from, there are buses, but not many people use them. So the point is that not many people use the buses. And there's no other form of public transportation. So there are quite a number of different types of public transportation that we can use in Seoul, for example. We can take the buses. There are cabs, but of course buses and the subway. These are all forms of public transportation, but she's saying in America where she is from, there are buses and there's no other form of public transportation. So perhaps if you don't own a car, the only public transportation you can take in her hometown are the buses, okay? It seems like you really need a car to survive. Now, here is a pattern. Need something to survive. Let's take a look at survive. Think of it as to live, okay? So if you say that you need something to live, you need something to survive, what does it mean? If you want to talk about the importance of something and say, if it weren't for this, I would not be able to survive. In other words, I cannot live without A. In that case, you can say, I need A to survive. I cannot live without A. We'll practice this pattern later on, all right? Okay, and then let's move on. Now, Eugene says, we're talking about America here, aren't we? The reason why he says this is because I guess it's difficult for him to really understand, okay, the fact that the only form of public transportation where she's from happened to be the buses. So he's saying, okay, buses, not many people take them, and that's the only form of public transportation where you come from? Wait a minute, we're talking about America, okay? And then she says, well, it depends on where you're from. So she's saying it depends on which city you are from or which state you are from. Some states have other forms of public transportation, but where she is from, buses are the only forms of public transportation. And then she asks, how about you? Let's find out what Eugene says. He says, well, it's sort of similar to Korea. It's very much like Korea. It is everything that Korea is, meaning it is just like Korea. It is everything that Korea is. It's just like Korea, but worse. It's not better, it's worse. So it's fairly efficient, okay, somewhat efficient in London, and everybody uses the buses. So he's saying that in London, yeah, it's very similar compared to Korea, and a lot of people use the buses or take the buses. However, he says, it's dirty and expensive. Perhaps he's comparing the buses of Korea to the buses in London. The buses in London, they're dirty and expensive. And then he says, I mean, they all use gas, gasoline, I think in Korea, he says. Which is fantastic, he says. And I also heard in Namsan, okay, the Namsan area, they are using battery-powered buses. If you say something powered, you are saying that this thing is given the energy by something, okay? So it's run on something, okay? It runs on something or it's something powered. How about we go there? So he's talking about, hey, why not we check out the Namsan area and try taking the battery-powered buses? And Mary says, yeah, next weekend. And then finally, Eugene ends by saying, I'm down for that. Now, this is our final pattern for today. If you say down for something, it could mean that you have knowledge of or knowledge for something. But in most cases, in conversations, if you say I'm down for that, It means that you like the idea. If somebody says something, say for example, why not, or someone may say, let's go to a baseball game, okay? If you agree to go, and if you like the idea of going to a baseball game, if you like the idea or the suggestion, and you want to say, yeah, of course, why not? Let's do that. You can say, I'm down for that. Okay? We'll practice that later on a bit more with a sample sentence as well. So that about brings us to an end to today's actual talk conversation. Let's take a listen to it one more time.
So Mary, there's loads of different types of buses in Korea.
Right.
I've noticed we have the small village buses, and we have buses within the city of different colours, I think.
Yeah, the big blue and green ones.
Yeah, in Seoul anyway.
Yeah.
And then we have express buses going city to city. It seems really well organised and efficient here.
Yeah, and then there's also the airport buses that you can take. Limousine buses, I think.
Do you ever take them?
I used to take them, but now I've switched since the AREX line opened up. Now I take that from Seoul Station.
The train line?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
So it's quite fast and you don't have to worry about traffic.
Yeah.
A little smoother.
Right. Well, it's a bit bumpy, isn't it, in the buses here?
Yeah, the airport buses aren't so bad, but the inner city buses, those can get pretty bumpy.
So how does this compare to back home? I mean, you have buses in the States, don't you? Obviously.
Yeah, it depends on where you're from in America. Where I'm from, there are buses, but not many people use them, and there's no other form of public transportation. It seems like you really need a car to survive.
Yeah.
I'm from Michigan.
We're talking about America here, aren't we?
Well, it depends on where you're from.
Okay.
Yeah, how about you?
Well, yeah, it's sort of similar to Korea.
Okay.
It's everything that Korea is, but worse. So it's fairly efficient in London anyway, and everybody uses the buses. However, it's dirty, sort of very polluting engines with the diesel, and expensive.
Right, Korea's doing some more eco-friendly.
Yeah, I mean, they all use gas, I think, now, don't they, in Korea, which is fantastic. And I also heard in Namsan they're using battery-powered buses.
Oh, I heard that too.
How about we go there?
Yeah, next weekend.
I'm down for that.
Okay, let's go.
Welcome back, everyone. Now it's time for actual expressions. So here we have 3 vocab words that I've selected from today's actual talk. Let's go over them one by one and then move on to our patterns to practice them. First of all, we have the word efficient. Efficient, as you see, the stress goes on fish. Efficient. And basically the word means effective, productive, even useful. Okay? It's very convenient, in other words. What about switch? In today's actual talk, we use the word switch in the verb form, which means to change or to divert. Okay? You can switch from A to B, meaning you can start using B after using A. You no longer use A, but you now use B. You can say you switched from A to B. Okay, moving on to bumpy. We were talking about how certain buses can be bumpy. Roads can be bumpy. Bus rides can be bumpy as well. We're talking about having a lot of bumps. So if you say that something is bumpy, you're saying that it is rough or bouncy, tremulous, or even shaking. Okay, so keep these synonyms in mind as well. Okay, now let's move on to our patterns for today. The first pattern we have for you is open up. Open something up. It means to start the use of something, such as buildings or locations. All right, so here is a sample sentence. 2 more subway lines are due to open up in the coming months. So, what are we talking about? What is going to open up? What is going to be open to the public to use? We're talking about subway. The subway lines are due to open up in the coming months, okay, in the next couple of months. So 2 more subway lines will be open to the public. They will be added, okay, so that the people or the public can use them in the coming months, in several months. Here's one more sample sentence. The new coffee shop opened up last March. So we're talking about the coffee shop. The new coffee shop opened up last March. We're saying that the coffee shop is now in business. Okay, it's open to the public. It has opened up. It has started business. Now, need something or someone to survive. I did tell you, do you remember? When would you say this? This is perhaps a way of expressing to someone the importance of something. So if you want to say, this is really important, I cannot live without it, try using that you need something or someone to survive. Here is a sample sentence. I need at least 15,000 won a day to survive. Okay? So you're saying you need 15,000 won a day. You need that much money a day to survive. You need at least 15,000 won a day. If not, you cannot survive the day. Okay? You cannot get through the day. So how much money do you need to survive in a day? Okay? Think about that. Moving on to our last pattern. Be down for something or with something. Okay? Often if you want to agree with somebody about a certain idea or suggestion, you can say, I'm down for that. I'm down with that. Okay? Let's check out a sample sentence. I'm down for whatever you want to do. I'm down for whatever you want to do. You can also say to be down for something when you want to say, I'm cool with that. That's another way. Hey, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that, meaning I'm okay with that. Okay, I agree. I like the idea. I'm down for something or I'm down with something. Let's practice one more time. I'm down for whatever you want to do. So if your friend, perhaps your girlfriend or your boyfriend says, what shall we do? And you really don't have an idea. If you want to say, we'll do whatever you want to do. Okay, in that case, you can say, I'm down for whatever you want to do. Okay? Practice these sample sentences with the phrases and the vocab words one more time.